Nathan wanted to say something. Yeah.
Hi, Uncle. I just wanted to know what I found when I was practicing. I think in relation to what you said earlier, a lot of my ego surfaced where I felt, am I doing this step correctly? Is this what is expected? How do I look? How do I appear? And then a lot of my thoughts into filling out dialogue and worrying about, external factors, as opposed to being able to center myself in the actual activity and observing clearly. There were moments I found where I was able to focus on the step or my breath, but I found myself distracted by a flurry of thoughts that worried a lot about either protecting myself or how I appeared, or worrying about planning for something, or concerned with the past or a past incident. And I found that what I tried to do was just acknowledge that that's what was happening. And when I did, there was almost a bit of a blankness. And then I was able to come back, but it was very frenetic, almost back and forth.
Right. Nice observation. This is the first thing that happens when you start the practice. In the sense, it is very hard to bring our attention to the object, right? And what immediately would surface will be our character, our personality, right? And you have very, very nicely identified them. And that identification is the key, right? And Buddha has identified 5 things that what do you call blocks our happiness, right? We call them hindrances, and the 5 hindrances are the sensual desire. It's not sensuality. It is not sensual indulgence. It is the desire, right? Or the ill will, or the worrying about the past, and planning for the future. So these 2 taken together. And the other is the skeptical doubt. And the other is the sloth and torpor. Sloth and torpor is in fact the 3rd one. So of those, in your explanation, there were 2 very clearly, right? The 2 were worrying about the past and planning for the future. That's one. And the other, skeptical doubt, whether you are keeping the step properly, whether it is going right, right? And you have done the right thing, just be aware of them. When those things happen, naturally what the mind would say is, oh, you can't do it. Then it will try to make you worry. Instead, you don't give that opportunity. I'm aware that this is happening. So when you become aware, that opportunity for worry will go away. Right? Since it goes away, the mind has now mind don't have anything immediately ready to make you worry. It has other ammunitions later. But at this stage, your mind didn't think that you will be using this ammunition to be aware. Right? So therefore, it did not have anything ready, so it could not attack you. Therefore, it had to naturally go to your assembly ground, which is either the walking or the breath. And you said it has happened many times. This cycle happened many times. That is how it progresses. Mind will try to keep on attacking you. You become aware, and then it goes to the base. Once again, mind attacks, wanders away. Again, you become aware, goes to the base. That is what is happening in a fight. Right? When you lose, you don't get all your soldiers killed. We call them back and put them in the barrack and train them with more ammunitions and give them rest and then put to the battleground again. The same thing is happening here. But we have only just one ammunition. Wherever we go, we become so diligent that I know what's going on. You know what's going on. Give a certificate to yourself saying that I'm aware, I'm aware, I'm aware. Then what it does is your reactional mentality gets challenged. The reactional mentality gets challenged. The duality that the mind is thriving on is getting diffused. So it's a good start. But I would give you the next exercise. You said the mind is coming back to your main object, either the breath or the legs, lower part of the body. When that comes, when it comes to the body, you should try to get as much information as possible of that. Why we should do that is that becomes your anchor after that. So if you have more information to see in the body, it's going to be much more fascinating than the mind going out. Then the mind will try to stay more with your body. So the mind doesn't go out. I'm not saying it is completely not happening. Mind will think that it will be able to hook you into this fascination of the body. So we use that and try to be with the body as much as possible, and then give another slap to the mind. Is it? Just, yeah.
I have to say it's quite a tightrope to walk, because there's so many instances where I'd be focusing on, let's say, just walking or breathing, and then one thought would lead to the next, where it'd be, oh, you're breathing, and then it goes to remember this, remember that, remember this. So it's almost like a storyline that plays out, and then only once I've realized, hold on, I'm actually in the middle of this, then there's almost that element of judgment to, oh no, you've lost track, you need to bring yourself back. So there's almost a self-critical voice that also enters too. Is there a way of not feeling so overwhelmed by that? A way of not feeling so overwhelmed by that critical voice that says, no, you've done it incorrectly, you need to come back. Yeah, when you get lost in the storyline, when I get lost in the storyline, I often have a voice that says, in my internal dialogue, is like, no, you shouldn't have done that, you need to come back. And it can be quite harsh. So it's like, no, that's silly, you know. Is there a way of tempering that?
Yeah, it's once again, as I mentioned to Lian, you are not doing this. It is happening, right? So what the mind is trying to do is trying to take the identification of this natural process. Now, you haven't possibly seen this type of thing happening in the past. You are observing this mind behavior now, right? It's a natural behavior. And for that natural behavior, mind is trying to take the identification that you can control this, you can control that. That self-criticism that is going on is natural. It is happening to everybody. And what the Blessed One has said is that when we just get a very random thought, and when we have a random thought, it snowballs. And the word he is using is, we keep on conceptualizing. Okay, this is that, this is that, this is that, this is that. There's a nice story. I don't know the English version of it. Someone has vomited very dark, And it has ended up after 7 houses that 7 crows have been vomited by somebody. That is happening in our mind. You see some random thought and it snowballs and finally it becomes me. And that is the trick of the mind. Mind wants to give identification to it, make it yourself, and you think it is me now. And now we can very clearly see that process. So when you see that process, what you will have to do is hold on, not that. I'm aware what's going on. This is what you are doing all the time. So I see the culprit. In fact, mindfulness is like an antivirus. You have antivirus protections, right? Or a firewall in the computer to safeguard the systems. This is the system that safeguards us from being contaminated physically as well as mentally. So there, the only thing happens is we see our weaknesses. We see our bad qualities. We see our bad habits. Everybody is having. And when you see them, you simply accept them because it is not you. That is the nature of mind.
Say that's a tough one when you look at this all. You'll constantly run into
Rectify.
If you can talk to that.
Yes, right. It's a tough one because you whenever you observe, let's say, a shortcoming of yourself, you want to rectify it. You want to make it better. So yeah, it's how do you accept that? How do you just see it as?
Yeah, that is how our mind is being what do you call, developed, grown, matured. What do you mean that? What do you mean by that? We have always been reacting. This is wrong, correct it. That is what we have been taught by our parents, in our schools, in our higher education system, university system, all doctors and professors, asking us to react. He says, just accept what is there. It will fade away. So as soon as you take the reaction, spark goes away. What we are taught is, if it is a negative, you do something positive. Negative positive effect is what? It's a spark. He says, if it is positive, if it is negative, you don't try to do a positive. Just accept that it is negative. Then negative, no spark. If it is a positive, you accept that it is a positive. So there is no reaction after that. And that way, his deconditioning, his conditioned world, conditioned things. And it is not happening by magic. It is a real cause and effect relationship in the practice.
If you accept it. If you accept it, do you then trick the mind into going, I'm accepting this, and then it can't work on saying it's a bad attitude? If you go, yeah, okay, I have this problem, instead of ruminating over it and thinking about it, and oh my God, what am I going to do? If you go, okay, I've got this problem, so what? And move on. And that way you don't give the mind the chance to take over. So you're actually throwing it away. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, it is. Let me put it this way. You are not, when you are worrying about it or when you are doing something about it, what actually happens is something that was in the garbage bin, you have taken it into your house. And the word you used was you are throwing it away. It was anyway thrown. But our mind has taken it as ours. Right? So now what you do is you let it be there where it is. Just leave it. Just leave it. And for us to train, get used to it, we are using these two neutral objects. And when you have a reference point only, you can see that. Otherwise, we get entangled in everything. What is what? So when you have this neutral object, we have a reference point. In relation to that, in reference to that, these things are happening. My mind is, I will have to keep the mind here, but it is going somewhere else. Yeah.
But I'm Bhavi. Bhavi. Yeah. When I was doing the walking meditation, I noticed that every time I focused or put my attention towards my walking, I was losing balance. And when I would, when my mind fluttered to something else, I didn't notice it and I was walking normally in my mind. And I thought that was quite interesting. And so I tried to bring my attention back and sort of try and feel my movement a bit more, but I just felt like I was losing balance every time I focused on my stepping. So tried to breathe again, to reset almost. But yeah, it was the first time I did the walking meditation. I just found that the whole time it was a bit of a stop-start in terms of keeping my balance.
Did you walk at the normal pace or was it naturally, did it?
I even tried to slow that down to see if it made a difference. And then even tried to speed up a little bit to see if it made a difference. And speeding up a little bit did. The slower I went, I could actually feel myself losing balance more often. But I just thought it was really interesting because I almost felt like consciously I just walk. Unconsciously we just walk. But I felt like the more I focused on it, the more I was like, why do I feel like I can't do this?
That's a very interesting observation. What it signals is that your mind has come to the body, right? And if it has, since especially when you have used the two other alternatives available, to walk faster and walk even slower, and when you walk faster, you have seen it, it gathers the momentum a little bit more and you become a bit more steadier. But when you walk slower, it becomes worse, right? The reason for that is this is another function of the mind. Mind is always trying to do, mind is working on the faculty called, or the action called, or the function called intention, right? Now, by being mindful, what we do is we reduce the intention as much as possible. Even while observing breath, we try to reduce the intention as much as possible. When you reduce our intentions, the mind naturally comes in. So when the mind comes into the body, especially while walking, and if you are not hooked to the outside, it's like a tent, camping tent, which has not hooked onto the pegs. It falls down, right? So your attention is not with the form that you see from your eye, from the sounds that you hear from the ears, or the taste, or any other sensual faculty is not active. Only the awareness faculty is active. And the awareness faculty is with the body now. And the mind is body. When the mind is with the body, our body is the fundamental elements of our body are the normal elements that we know in physics. That is earth elements, water elements, fire elements. They have a way of behaving. And that is the behavior that you observe. You don't use the balance. So if you make it a leg, not earth element, water element, air element, but if you make it a leg, then you can walk. But if you take that intention out of making it a leg and let it become a normal physical form, then it behaves the way the air works, behaves the way the water works, behaves the way the earth element works. That is called concentration. So this concentration, that happens when the concentration is there in the body. Concentration brings those fundamental elements of the physicality out. And this is how you see it. This is just a very basic observation. This is how you see it. When you do more, other fascinations will come out. There is nothing in the universe happening which is not happening in our body. Simple as that. If you go into your body, you can see everything. I mean, you can see in the sense not you imagine. You can experience, you can feel it. Right? So that is why when we practice mindfulness, we keep the attention to the body. It never lies. Body can't lie. But if you ask the mind, the biggest culprit. The biggest culprit. Yeah. So we will have to, of course, we are trying to purify the mind. But we will have to purify the mind with the help of the body, who doesn't know the language of life. So it's very interesting observations. Right. We have just 15 minutes. So I don't think we have enough time to go for a talk, not even 15 minutes, it's 14 minutes. Do you have anything, Chatu, to say? Yes, sorry. Because I have...
There's no end goal. Like there's nothing to strive for. It's just basically controlling your mind and being allowed to have peace. Is that what is there any achievement at the end, or you achieve nothing? You achieve nothing. Oh, sorry.
That's a very good question. That is the very same thing that the Blessed One has avoided. Now, in the practice, there are 4 stages. We call him the enlightened one, right? Or awakened one, right? Or the one who has gained wisdom, right? And in reaching there are 4 stages. right? So we can't say that there is no end result. Funny thing is, you don't know what the end result is. There is nothing for you to target, right? So therefore, my teacher used to say, if you have an appointment, all the appointments ends up with disappointment, right? What it says is, what mindfulness says is, just be aware. That's the only expectation. That awareness, now see, there are only three people. Three different experiences, three different ways of looking at it. Right? So we can't, therefore, I mean, it's the duty of the teacher to understand them and gradually push them towards the goal. Right? But if we give the goal to you, what happens is, it's like studying for the exam. You try to do that. Actual awareness will not take place. So therefore, a lot of people criticize him. He has told something called nirvana. There is no definition to that at all. And his first teaching was Four Noble Truths. Truth of suffering, truth of suffering, noble truth of suffering, and the cause of suffering, and eradication of suffering, and the path to eradicate suffering. Right? So in all the four, he's talking about suffering. And people criticize him. He's such a nihilistic person, very pessimistic person. He's talking all negative. Right? But if you really look at it, what he says is, noble truth of suffering means, if you know the suffering, and if you eradicate the suffering, and if you know the path to eradicate suffering, what does it give you? Happiness. But instead, if he said, noble truth of happiness, the cause of happiness, and the way gaining of happiness, and the way to gain happiness, he wouldn't be able to at least die. People will be in queues. Because the people would like to achieve things. Yeah, and that's a human nature. That's animal's nature. Any animal is like that.
There's nothing to achieve.
There is something to achieve, but we don't do it in the right way. So he gave that to do it the right way. You are in suffering, be aware of that suffering. When you know that suffering, and when you just know it, when you don't react to that suffering, your suffering quietly gets shaken. It gradually, goes down, evaporates. So, I mean, after 6 months, when you practice, you will see you are a different person. You don't know that it will do such a tremendous change in our way of, I mean, the outsiders may not be able to see it. Sometimes outside even can see it. But you yourself can definitely see it, that you are a changed personality. So there is an end result, but we don't talk about it. Only what we talk is what you experience and what you physically observe. That is how we trap the mind. All this time it has been trapping us. It's a very simple technique. And it doesn't have such a huge strength. I mean, it's very wrong to say that it doesn't have a strength. It has a strength. But it is not difficult to control its strength. To control mind strength. Yeah. To diffuse its strength. So we will let Chatu at least talk now.
There's this experience that I've been having, and I've tried to report it before. It's been troubling me for a little while. I'll say the sitting first and then the walking. So in the sitting, I'm sitting down and I go to the space, and there's a point when I merge with the space. And then I wanted to give details of how I got there, I guess. That's sort of what I was reporting before. And I guess there's through a couple of ways that it happens. Like I feel that I'm getting sucked in, or I get really, really close to the space, and then there's no, like me and the space, there's no difference. They're the same thing. And the other times I'm already there. I don't even know how I got there. But I have real difficulty giving like details of that place, the merger, because, and I think I know why. I was in this merged area, and I wanted to verify what was happening. So I had awareness that I was merged, but I couldn't give any details of it. And I tried to generate a thought, like, what's happening, like a verbalized thought. And I can't generate that thought. Like, it's not possible while I'm merged. So I have like awareness, but I don't believe I have ability to think when I'm there. And so I did the same thing in in walking. I was doing the walking and I'm in the space, and then I let it merge. So in the walking, it's like, it goes out of control, the walking, when I merge, but I let it happen intentionally. And I tried to generate the same thought, like what's happening, but I can't generate that verbalized thought. And I did this a number of times. It's just like experiment. That's my report.
So are you saying that you try to be more aware of that merging point by verbalizing it or by identifying it as thought?
So I want to know what the merger is, because there's two things happening. There's the space and there's the merge. And I need more details about the merge, but I can't give any. Like last time I tried to give some details, but I basically had nothing. And you said, go find out some more details. And I'm trying to find details, but I can't. Like I have awareness, but I don't think I have ability to generate thoughts there. So I can't really verify what's happening.
All right. So it is what I would say is you keep your awareness up to its entrance, and when you get there, then since I have told to get more information, mind activities start there and it overtakes the awareness. So this is why the thought generation, verbalization is coming into the picture. It is true that you cannot put words there. And in fact, what happens is when such an intention comes, even in the slightest fashion, that natural process gets hindered, right? So it's practice. Since you are reaching there, don't try to intentionally gather information of the place. Let it happen. Let it happen over and over again, over and over again, over and over again. Try to be as awakened as possible. Try to be as diligent as possible, right? So then it is not a verbal thing. It is not an imagination. It is an experience how you enter there. Right now, what it what it tells me is that you get there, you go to that merger point, and in that merger point, the experience that you get there is important, right? From wherever you are, when you go to that place, it's like I may have told even earlier, before rain, it becomes dark and wind start blowing, right? And you feel cold. Those type of things are the pre-signals of that it is going to rain. Now, of course, it is coming in the forecast. So therefore, we know exactly at 1 o'clock it is going to rain. But those days when we don't have forecast, when we know from the sky, from the wind, from the birds, that it is going to rain. So similar thing is happening now. It is going to merge. Now you are there, but what is actually happening? What is my experience in this closure? Is the information. And I agree that it is not easy to have this experience in the first or the second time. When you got to keep on doing it. When you keep on doing it, your mind becomes sharper. Then you will be able to identify finer details of what is happening. Then you can say, okay, these are the things that happen. When you see those things, we get close to that as much as possible. Does it make sense? And for any reason, if you get merged, and when you are in the merge situation, even there, when you are in there, try to be mindful of that as much as possible. You're in there and just tell yourself, I'm there, I'm there, I'm there, I'm there. And then see what happens to it. When you come out, see how you come out. It's all observing, all observation of beginning, middle, and the end. What we first observe is the middle, because the beginning is so subtle, we won't be able to observe. End is completely unexpected. We don't know when it is going to end. But when you are there in the middle, you know, right? So when you are in the middle, if you become more alert, then there is an opportunity for you to see the end. It may not happen straight away. There's an opportunity for you to be see the end because you are there. If you know it is going to end, then you can be more and more alert, more and more alert, and make that unexpected ending expected ending. You can be more aware. So if you see the end, if you get up, if you become more and more aware of the ending, then you know it is going to take another tour, another round, and come back to this. And you can go prepared, more prepared. Okay, merge, I observe, merge, I observe, merge, I observe, merge, I see the video. Right. Although I say that this is something that you can do, it is something that you cannot do. It is happening. Only thing is you will have to keep your camera tuned as fine as possible. It will happen through the practice. So don't worry much. I try to increase your awareness as much as possible. Okay. So hope you were able to get some idea of what mindfulness is and how it works. And there is no time for a talk, so I'm not going to give a talk this time. So we will meet again in the next session, and which is Chatu will hopefully send the email. We have it fortnightly. So it is somewhere 12th. Yeah, I will have to see in the temple calendar if they have anything. So tentatively 12th, right? 12th September. And other than that, we have sessions on Thursdays evening and Sunday morning. You can come and practice. And if you want to report anything, you can report even there, right? But this is a quieter one. This is purely English. But in the other practices, they are witnessing patients as well, right? But more practitioners. With that, please let me and Chatu chant our ending stanzas, right? So Chatu, to pass our positive energies to whoever who is able to gather these energies, we will chant the usual stanzas with our Gaja.